Hello and welcome to Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things, the podcast show. I'm your host, Carrie Roberts. Today's interview is in partnership with the Senior Care Services of Greater Princeton, located in New Jersey. Our guest today is also located in New Jersey. And our hope is that our interview today will provide some sort of inspiration, maybe some sort of entertainment, and some mindset skills that you can use to help live an extraordinary life and age well. The Senior Care Services of Greater Princeton is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that engages volunteers to assist homebound seniors to age gracefully in place and to persevere their independence by providing transportation, food shopping, and friendly visits. We have a bunch of sponsors that are helping us out today for this event and this interview. So we want to thank Wells Fargo Advisors, Kathy and Mike Castellano, Mrs. G Appliances, Aunt Terry's Event Planning and Consulting, Glen Eagle Advisors, Surety Title Company, Gritalia Hospitality Group, Enviro Master Services, and Lance Liverman. We thank you so much for being a sponsor for today's event. And joining me today is diving coach and world champion Eric Blevins. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So excited to have you here. So I want to start from the very beginning. Do you remember the first time that you were in the water? Like what age you were in a pool? Do you have any memory or any experience of that?
I think the first time I was actually in the water, I was young. I was like 4 or 5. I think my parents tried to do just random swim lessons. I remember jumping on my mom and breaking her nose. Like, my bad. You know, I didn't know any different. But actually diving, I didn't even start until college. So, yeah.
So it was only until later in life. So what type of sports were you getting into then, before then?
Well, through high school, I did football, wrestling, track, and baseball. I was recruited for football and wrestling and went to Grinnell College for football in Iowa. And it just randomly quit and became a diver. So it was a good transition, I guess. So, yeah.
But it seems like, for someone that really didn't have a ton of experience in the water and in the pool, you decided to become a diver. Did somebody approach you? Was there something about it that was interesting? Like, why diving in college?
Well, I was at sports, and then they didn't have wrestling where I was at in Grinnell. And I was awful at basketball. I'm really good at fouling. That's about it. But one of the swim captains was actually dating a girl that was living on my floor. He's like, oh, you should try diving because I could always do flips on the ground. And I was like, I don't even know how to swim. I'm not going to dive. He's like, oh, just try it out. The guys will love you. So I tried it and I was awful. And like the first couple practices, they were doing like dry land. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I couldn't walk the next day. I couldn't believe it. So we had our first meet and I lost. And I'm like, it's not going to happen again. And I don't ever remember going to lunch. I skipped lunch every day, just practice before, after practice. Probably 5 hours a day I would practice and then just got really, really good at it. So
now for people that, you said you didn't really swim at all. Mm-hmm. You're doing kind of dry land activities. There's a lot of flipping that happens in diving. Mm-hmm. How does somebody kind of practice this if they've never done it before? It's
a lot of crash and burn. Yeah, it wasn't very comfortable. So I'd say around my junior year, I'm like, I don't like smacking anymore. So I don't, but I wore a wetsuit a lot of times. It was my security blanket, but it didn't really help. It still hurt. So.
Do they have where they attach something to your body to kind of help you with the flips, or what type of training kind of goes into that?
like for what I do now with my age group kids and over at TCNJ, they have like a trampoline and they have a dry board and they have rigs over top with a belt. And so when they're trying to learn, I can hoist them up so they can kind of figure out where they're going and stop them whenever they're supposed to, like if they're doing a 2.5 or a 1.5. So, yeah.
So you start doing this in college. Now, Did you get onto the college team right away, or this was kind of just something fun you were doing?
I was the only guy. So they let me in, and I wouldn't wear a Speedo because I was just crazy. Right. And so it was probably like my 3rd or 4th week. I would go in after practice, after dinner, and practice more. And I actually snapped the diving board. And I was like, oh my God, the coaches are going to kill me, right? This is going to cost so much money. And, I emailed the coach. I'm like, oh, I broke the diving board. She's like, oh, you're crazy. You didn't do that. I'm like, all right. So the next day, I'm coming in and, I'm stretching and I'm like, oh, I just see her walking down. I'm like, oh, here we go. And she just flopped open like a swimming and diving magazine. She was like, this is how much a board costs. I'm like, oh God. She's like, you don't know anything, but just so you know. So But yeah, I mean, like after a while, it became kind of more natural to me. But first couple years was a little rough.
So, I mean, you start competing. I mean, I feel like is that luck that you were that good at it to be able to compete at such a high level, or do you think it was your training in football and other things?
I think football and wrestling helped me get a lot of spatial awareness, I think, in the air. I could, like I said, I could always do like flips and stuff on the ground, but like once I would do the dives over and over, it was just a lot of muscle memory after a while. So like freshman year was more of a learning curve. And then probably around my junior year is when I got all of the dives, like all like the 2.5s and everything on 3 meter. And then senior year, I pretty much just sat there and perfected all of them. So,
and I know you and I were talking offline that you are a competitive person about everything.
Yes.
Was this something that, you started to enjoy it because you were good at it and you could be competitive at it? Or did kind of the football, the wrestling kind of go on the wayside?
Well, it kind of went on the wayside because I knew going in, like I was like, I'm going to be great at this. I think my freshman year, at the end of the season, the NCAA qualifiers came in and they had a meeting about they wanted to do another meet so they could have a better time, so they could, go up on the list. And I was like, I want to be part of this next year. And so like all summer I would practice and like by the time I was a sophomore, junior, I'm like, I want to be an All-American. That's what I want to do. And I just like worked towards it. And even my senior year, I stayed in Grinnell over the summer and just trained all summer. And then senior year, went to nationals and, placed top 10 on both boards. So, yeah.
It's always so funny because when we have people like this, I just placed top 10 as if it was, so easy. I want to go into the training a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times people think about the physical training, but there is, I would assume, some sort of mental training. I mean, when you're getting at a high level, can you talk about anything you were doing mentally to help your mind stay focused?
I think in college, because a lot of the dives were scary. So I would say, if I don't, like I would practice them every day. And I was like, if I don't do this dive, I'm not going to go to nationals. I'm not going to win conference. So I have to do this dive. So that's how I would get myself to do them. Now getting older, I with my age group, I typically do a lot harder dives than most of the other people in my age group. So I'm just like, as long as I can keep that up, like I'm going to be a step ahead of everybody else. And so that's how I keep training that. I think anymore, like diving is probably like 80% mental anymore. I hate looking at the scoreboard, and I always do, to see like where I'm at during meets, so I can kind of figure out like, okay, well now I have like a 20-point cushion, or like I'm only 5 points ahead. And that you would think that would help, but it really doesn't. But
yeah, it's just really interesting because, like you said, especially a very high level athletes, you have to keep that kind of mental health well. You have to keep the mindset in a proper place. Was there ever a time where you feel like, okay, this is getting really challenging, this is getting hard, or I'm tired, I don't feel like doing this today? What did you do to kind of get your mind to say, no, I'm going to stay disciplined, I'm going to keep training so that I can be at the level I want to?
Oh, all the time I get like that. So
we appreciate the honesty.
I'd say in 2015, after because we had nationals at Stanford, and then Worlds was in Russia, and it was like 3 months after nationals. And I trained so much for it that I got burnt out maybe a week before I even went. And I was just like, I'm just tired. I just want it to be done. I think when I went to Budapest in 2017, I learned from that, and I switched my training a little bit. Instead of just really train hard for 3 months, I trained hard for like 5 or 6, but not like at a hugely intense, like 6 hours a day level. Because now my it's getting kind of beat up, and same thing for, when I went to Korea, it was like I learned from the Budapest. And so that's pretty much how I started off. Of course, now it's, when I take my time off, I kind of pack on the pounds. So now it's a little bit harder every 2 years to get that off. But
well, and you were kind of talking about recently, so you decided to compete in the Masters. Mm-hmm. What is the age group for Masters? What does that mean? It
starts at 25 and it goes all the way up to 100. And each group is within 5 years. So when I first started, I was 30 to 34. And now I'm 35 to 39. And then in a couple years, I'll be 40, 44.
Now, has it been kind of in your mind to say, I'm going to do this every time? Or was there a part of you that was like, I need to do this now before maybe my body can't handle it anymore? Like, what made you decide to do the masters diving?
Well, when I first moved to New Jersey, I wanted to do like club stuff, lesson stuff over the summer. And the masters group for East Coast Masters, they practice out of TCNJ. They approached me. They're like, well, we might have some kids for you. You should try diving. I'm like, I've been out of it for like 9 years. Like, there's really no point. And they kind of roped me back into it. And I think when I was 31, 32, I started back into it. And I think at Rutgers there was a national meet at Rutgers in 2014. And that was really my first meet with them. And I was just kind of hooked ever since. And I think for me, it's like, as long as I can still do all my dives I still did in college, like I'm still going to go as long as I can. Until I have to start dumbing them down. I mean, I don't know if I can dumb them down. So just like, well, that's it. So
you said it could go up to age 100.
Mm-hmm.
What has been some of the oldest people that have done diving?
There's been some, this one woman, Ebone, she dove on the Mexican Olympic team. I'm going to mess it up. It might've been in the 60s, maybe the 50s, but she's probably 90 and she goes to every national meet, every international meet. Like, she's awesome. So, and I would say like probably one of the more competitive groups now for men are like 50 to 55. There's so many, in that age group. So.
And, we're here with Senior Care Services. I think, one of the things we talk about here is aging gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that someone can age gracefully where they're still able to enjoy the type of sport they did before? Their body's not the same, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any thoughts of how somebody can age gracefully kind of in this sport so that they can maybe be diving at 50, 60, 70 to 90 years old?
Well, it's nice, like with the Masters team here, we're so big. I want to say there's probably 20 people just on our team, and they range from like 20s up until like 70. And we all, we'll practice together, and we're very encouraging with each other. We'll coach each other, which is kind of nice. And it keeps everyone in shape. And they know, like, during normal circumstances, we would always practice Sundays at TCNJ. We would know, like, okay, well, we would work out just so we wouldn't kill ourselves on Sunday. And typically for me, like how I would have my schedule, like they would have open swim 11 to 1. So I would always go from 11 to 1 and train either by myself or one of the other masters divers would come with me and we would dive together. So.
Yeah. So I think, like you're talking about, it's nice to hear that people are supportive within the community, because normally in a competition, people are competing against each other.
Yeah.
But you find that maybe as people get older, they're saying, okay, how can we help one another?
Yeah. And even at the international meets, like even during warmups, like everyone's there, they're very supportive. They'll give corrections, it's kind of fun to watch. So. Yeah.
That's really nice. And we have some of your medals here as well. Can you tell us about these? What are they from?
So what
did you win?
So these were from South Korea, Gwangju in 2019. They were world championships, and I won gold on both 1 meter and 3 meter so this is my third world championship. So this is my first time winning world championships. So.
And did you, when you win gold, like what's going through your head? Are you like, I'm awesome, this was great? Are you like, oh, now I got to do the next one? What's kind of that moment when you hear you won?
I think the first one, because in Russia I trained really hard for, got silvers, and in Budapest I trained really hard for and got injured 3 hours before my event. Still came back and got silvers. I'm just like, okay, like it's got to happen one of these times. Like and when it first, like on 3 meter was our first event, and as soon as I won, it's a lot of emotions, so it was just like, it was just like a relief, that like all that hard work finally, like it really paid off. And so I got to celebrate, for a day, and then came back for the second one. So second one was a little bit tougher to win, but as soon as I won that, I'm like, oh, thank God.
I've heard that a lot, actually, that there's a sense of relief of, I guess you could take a break, but it's also like, okay, all that hard work did pay off. I can just relax for a moment. But is there also kind of an element of a letdown of like, well, what's next? Or is in your mind like, oh, now I'm training for the next age group?
Well, like I always wanted to win. And so I would always say, once I win, I'll be done. But now I'm just like, okay, well, now I have to defend them, so, I'll continue to do it until my body probably really can't do the high level stuff anymore. And I say that now, but I'm sure I can dumb stuff down and keep going. But like, I mean, just getting to do it and travel all over the world and meet people from all over. I mean, it's so much fun. Like, I mean, who can say they do that kind of stuff, so.
Are you able to get sponsors for something like that?
Not typically. Typically we do it. It's all on our own. Like USA Diving, they sponsor us some and they outfit us and everything. But most of the travel and all the arrangements are pretty much on our own.
Yeah, which can be a lot. So not only are you putting in this time, you're putting in the money and the effort, but like you said, being able to see the hard work pay off, see different places. That's exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, like I would never go to Russia or South Korea. That was never on my bucket list. But I mean, when we went there, it was awesome. So
I love that. I want to talk about too, the people in your life that support you, because I think when any of us are doing something high level, whether it's athleticism or it's a business or anything else, it's important to have people that support us. And your spouse has been supportive of you for a long time. Can you talk about kind of the role that he plays in your ability to succeed in the sport of diving?
Yeah, when I'm starting training, like he knows what's going on. So he knows, okay, well, I'm going to be tired all the time. And during that time, like he'll be preparing dinner most of the time. And so he'll be very mindful of that. And like, he'll keep me on track with all that other kind of stuff. Cause whatever's in the fridge, I'm going to eat it. I'll be at practice sometimes and like, if there's a chicken breast and I just cannot wait to get after that. But he does really well with that. He doesn't know a lot about diving, which is fine. But when he goes like worlds, like I'll get him credentials and he'll videotape every dive I do. Then he'll come like where I'm standing in line. He'll show it to me just so I can kind of see what I'm doing, coach myself a little bit. And during those, whenever I'm competing, like, I mean, when I got hurt in Budapest, I've never seen him run so fast in the hospital, getting like the antibiotics and stuff when I ruptured my eardrum out. So it's kind of nice. And he's very supportive with the stuff too. So he does gives good pep talks and all that and everything. But, as soon as like competing something, he's like, okay, now I get to take over. So it's like, the first 4 days were you, the next 6 days are me. I'm like, that's fine.
Yes. So, no, I think that's wonderful to hear. And we were talking earlier, he's not an athlete or competitor in that sense. And so it's nice because you do get an element of support and calmness in a different way than like the people that you're competing with every day. Yeah.
And like, he definitely balances me out. I guarantee if you talk to him about how I travel, like he'd be like, he's just insane. Cause if we're 5 minutes late for something, I'm frantic and he's like, just chill out. Like it's going to work out. So like really any aspect like that, he calms me down and keeps me pretty much focused on like what we're here for. So
yeah, I love to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to switch a little bit to your coaching. How long have you been a diving coach for?
Since I graduated college, I've pretty much got into it. So since 2004, so this would probably be my 15th or 16th year coaching college. For age group, it's my third year for age group.
So let's talk about kind of, you've been through this process yourself. You're still going through the process yourself. So you're learning. How do you kind of coach your students? Let's talk kind of the high level first, the collegiate athletes, because you've sent some to where they've gotten scholarships and they've competed as well. What are the things that you're coaching them? Maybe 1, 2, or 3 tips that you tend to kind of harp on quite often as a coach?
Well, like I'm big with technical stuff. So especially like just their approaches. If that stuff is off, like everything's going to be off. So I really harp on just fundamental things like that. Once they develop that and get used to that, then they can start doing the harder stuff. What's kind of nice is like we have like all of my athletes, we have a very trusting relationship, and I'm not going to make them do something that I don't think they can do or they don't think they can do. But I still push them to places that they don't think that was possible before. And I'm very open communication with them too. It doesn't matter if they're 7 or in college. Like we always talk things out. If they get scared about stuff, I just sit them down. I'm like, well, what are you scared of? Like, let's work through it, So, and if they say they don't know, like, well, you do know, so like, I can't help you if you don't tell me. And so so it works out with that. But yeah, just getting their confidence, like once they get more confidence with things, then, it's fun to watch them compete whenever they feel really good about certain things. So, yeah.
Do you have any stories of a student that you worked with, again, young or older, that made you really proud as a coach that you'd like to share?
Well, when I was at Ryder, I had this one girl, she never dove before. She was a trampolinist. And so she came in and she ended up her freshman year, she got, top 8 on both boards at conference for Division I. And then her sophomore year, she got top 3 on both. And then her junior year, she won 3-meter and she got second on one. She ended up getting diver of the year that year. And I've had a lot of guys get diver of the year before. It was my first girl, and she hit her last dive and she made me cry in public. So I was very upset with her. But it was fun to watch her grow from like not being able to do anything into being, the best diver in her conference. And she was NCAA regional qualifier. And so that was fun to watch. That was fun to watch her grow. So
I agree. We were talking earlier, I'm a dancer and I've been a dance coach. And so the confidence that you see in your students is always great, and seeing them succeed, it does get you emotional. So that's okay. We don't need to be scared about that.
I mean, it's fun watching them buy into, cause like I'll kill them in the weight room. I'll kill them on like the dry land stuff. And like, once they buy into it, it's just so fun to watch them like just take off. Like I have some kids at TC&J that just like they've bought in, they've taken off. It's so much fun to watch.
What for anyone that is a diver or a collegiate or wants to be a collegiate athlete, what are universities looking for from an athlete to be able to give them a scholarship and have them on their team?
Well, it depends really. Like if they went like high level, like let's say Indiana or Purdue, they already have to have a very competitive list. They have to go to like USA diving meets, go to like juniors, nationals. A lot of them have to have platform. They don't necessarily need it. But then like other like Division I, smaller ones, or Division II, like really just potential. If they're coachable, if they show promise. I know like when I was coaching Division I, like I would look at kids. I'm like, this kid could be really, really good. And he would fly under the radar because he wasn't doing the really hard stuff yet. So like me personally, that's what I would always look for. And I know a lot of other coaches look for that too. So
is it the coach that normally makes the decision from the university?
Yeah. So yeah, with all that, like even now, like I'll, tell my kids like what the coaches are looking for. They'll get a diving video so that shows them like every dive that they do, and they'll send that to coaches, and along with like, what they're interested in major wise and stuff like that. And then the coaches make the decision if they want to pursue recruiting them or not.
I think another thing that's really interesting, especially now and during this kind of pandemic time, 2020, you have a lot of people coming out of college. Maybe they were an athlete, maybe they have a scholarship academically, and they're having trouble finding work. Mm-hmm. Do you have any suggestions of how they could kind of showcase their efforts as an athlete on their application, or maybe even have done that in the past?
Well, like what they can do, because all the coaches know what's going on. Like everyone's in the same boat. It doesn't matter where you are. Like a lot, like at least for us, like a lot of pools are shut down. So as long as they have stuff from the past, like they're continuing to work. If they're they're still training, even if it's, in the weight room or whatever, as long as they continue to do that to show that they're still very passionate about what they're doing. That's really what the coaches are going to be looking for, especially in a time like this.
Well, is there even any way though, after they're kind of done with college, how they can showcase how being an athlete makes you a better person in life, in work, in general? Well,
I definitely think in general that like time management, it helps so much. Because I mean, like even with my kids, I'm like, if you're 15 minutes early, like you're on time. If you're 10 minutes early, like you're like, because I'm really weird with time. If they have to practice like 20 hours a week, they have to fit homework in there. They have to do all the other extracurricular stuff. So I mean, it really shows, time management, like team building skills. If like I haven't really been on coached a team where they don't really support each other, which is kind of nice. And it doesn't matter if like they're the worst in the team or the best on the team. They're all always together. So things like that, so there's just, time management and just like overall support, and if they're coachable, obviously, they can take direction very well. So
yes. Yeah, I would agree. Time management is a huge advantage because if you are a student, you have to balance all the time of doing the athletic stuff and then your homework and all of that stuff. So that makes sense. Now that we know that you did not swim too much when you were younger, but now you started kind of in college and you've been doing it for quite some time now. How do you feel when you're in the water, when you do the dives? Like, is there a feeling that comes over you when you're doing it?
It's fun. Like, I mean, it's hard to describe. It's like when I'm doing this stuff, I'm just like, I couldn't tell you I'm doing it, but I just do it because there's so much muscle memory now. But like just still being able to do like things that when I was half my age, when I was like 19, like it's it's so crazy to me that I can still do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think having fun in our life is important in whatever we can do. Do you have any advice for people that are trying to kind of find something that excites them? Maybe they used to do diving, they used to do something, but they don't feel like their body's that way anymore. Any advice for how they can kind of get back into doing something that's fun or athletic for themselves to feel healthy?
Well, yeah, it's just the first step is just trying it again. I mean, if you want to try diving, I know like East Coast Masters, they have people that have never dove before in their adults, or maybe their kids dive and they want to try it. When everyone starts, the same spot, it doesn't matter if you're 40 years old, so I mean, and no one's going to judge. Like, I mean, a lot of people, they're going to be worried, like, oh my God, I'm not going to be very good. No one's going to care. Like, who cares? No one's going to care, so like, just do it for you, and if you enjoy it, just, take the first step, just be like, this is what I want to do, and schedule it out, and just make yourself do it.
I agree with you, but I think there are a lot of people that the judgment does scare them.
Oh, it does. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I don't want to get into a speedo at the moment right now, after like 6 months of not doing anything. But you know what? Like in all honesty though, like once you kind of get over all that kind of stuff, if you can make fun of yourself, it's fine. But the judgment factor is going to be, it will be hard, but like once you're in a community, like everyone goes through that same stuff. I know like with the people that I train with, like, like we all have those same thoughts, those same interests, like, oh my God, okay, well then like do something about it, but like they'll still support you no matter your size, no matter what, no matter, your abilities, and so, and that's just kind of how it is. Like, at least even in my age group case, like they're also supportive, which it doesn't matter, so like once you like find a group like that, it's so important to stay connected with them.
Yeah, like I said, support, whether it's from your spouse, your family, or the group that you're in, it makes a total difference. And I think as we get older, we actually do care less.
Honestly, yeah, I mean.
So that is definitely a positive versus when you're younger. Did you ever feel that way? Did you ever feel like the judgment besides the speedo component?
God, all the time. I was a big boy growing up. So I even when I was like in the best shape ever, I would still feel it. So, I mean, you're always going to have that. Like, I mean, I'm my own worst critic. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are like that too, but, just once you get past that and be like, all right, whatever, like I'm still going to do me. I don't want to hold myself back, so, like just once you get through that, then, everything else is fine.
Having spoken to you a little bit before and now you definitely kind of have an element of confidence about yourself and kind of like, okay, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm just going to do it anyway. Where do you think that confidence comes from for you?
At least for diving, honestly, it's like I've done the same dives like thousands of times. So I know like if I mess up something, like I can somehow pull it off in the air. Mm-hmm. And just doing it for so long, and just still enjoying it. Cause I never got burned out on it, which is very surprising, but I enjoy doing it. Like even with like the club kids, and the college kids, like I enjoy going to work every day, which is really, really, which is nice. So I don't even like look at it as work. It's more fun, and like the kids actually make me a better diver. Cause I can see what I'm like, okay, so like, this is probably what I'm doing too, and like, sometimes I like to think I make them better divers too, because a lot of times I'll be like, well, if I can do this, like you can do this. I'm like 3 times your age, and that kind of upsets them a lot. But so until they get better than me, and then I'm just like, okay, we're not going to play that game anymore.
Yeah, no, I thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important to be thinking about as a whole. I want to go back to the mindset thing a little bit more. You talked about before. If somebody is kind of feeling, again, especially during this time, just kind of like down or like scared to try things, or just like maybe mentally just not feeling in the best place, do you have any advice for them to kind of get through that?
I would just say, just know like everybody's with you. Like everyone is in the same boat, I mean, because I mean, you can ask, Nay, I'm just like, oh my God, I just feel so gross. It's like, well, everybody does. Like, what is there to do? Like, you can't, there's nothing to do. You can't go anywhere or do anything. So everyone's in the same boat. So you're not alone. Like, just know that you're not alone. There's other people there that feel the same way you do. And just communicate. Like, I'm a big communicator. So like, just talk about it and you guys can figure it out.
Yeah. And I like that you said you're doing that with your students as well, all your athletes, that you're having that conversation with them. What's going on? How can I help? So that they're becoming better people and better divers at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for you? Are you getting ready to compete in the next round? What is kind of your
Well,
vision at
everything's
this
been
point?
pushed back, thankfully, for a year. So next Worlds is 2022. So I got a little bit of time to work some of this like COVID body off of me once things get back to normal. I'm sure there's national meets. There's usually ones. There's the spring one is usually in April, May, and the summer one's usually in August. I usually try to go to one of those. And then I think 2022 is in Japan, and I think it's in May. They're usually in August, but this one's in May because I got pushed back so much. So yeah, so I'll shoot for that one. You know.
So are you doing any training now at home?
Well, I mean,
love the honesty. We love it, Eric.
I watch ESPN, so I mean that's they're running, I'm running, right?
Whatever we can do at home,
Exactly.
right?
You know,
exactly.
it's all mental training.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to share a little bit here. We have Trudy saying it's very inspirational. We have Jennifer watching from Newtown, Pennsylvania. We have Elvis Diaz watching from Phoenix. Bet says Eric is amazing. Of course, Lisa, who helped kind of put this together. Great insights. Love hearing about being a champion and encouraging students to become champions. Which, based off of that too, I just want to say, like, how do you define the word champion?
Well, it's just what you set your goal to, So, I mean, like for me, I wanted to be a world champion. In college, I wanted to be an NCAA All-American. But if you're a runner, like I'm awful at running. So like if I wanted to do 5 miles in a row straight, like I'm a champion. It's like if you can reach your goal, whatever it is, it could be something big, something small, then I think then you're a champion with that, and then you can create another goal, another bigger goal from that. If you did 5 miles, and maybe I'll do 10 miles, and then if you get that, that's another barrier. You just reached your goal. So I just think whatever you set your goals in your mind to, like once you surpass that, I feel.
I like that you're kind of defining champion for yourself. You're not letting someone else or a medal necessarily define it. You're saying if I've set this goal and I've reached it, then I'm a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that, Eric. Very,
yeah.
very, very good. We like that here. Wonderful. If people want to connect with you, if they want to learn more, is there a website or on social media where they can do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook, just Eric Blevins. I'm sure you can just look it up. I'm New Jersey. For our age group, jerseydivinacademy.com, all of the information and stuff is on there, my email address and all that.
Perfect. And the last question I like to ask all of my guests on my show is, what is one word or quote or mantra that you try to live by every single day?
Oh, geez, you should have told me this before.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I don't know, be better than you were yesterday.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, like, so you did yesterday. So like, be better than you did yesterday, like in whatever it was, so like, just live your life and, always strive to be a better person.
I like that. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for being here.
Yeah.
This has been wonderful. I want to thank again the Senior Care Services of Greater Princeton, as well as our list of sponsors who have helped to make this interview and this event possible. Wells Fargo Advisors, Kathy and Mike Castellano, Mrs. G Appliances, Aunt Terry's Event Planning and Consulting, Glen Eagle Advisors, Surety Title Company, Gratalia Hospitality Group, EnviroMaster Services, and Lance Liverman. We appreciate it. We also hope that you will join us on Wednesday, December 9th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Wherever you are watching, it will be in the same place. We will be having Terry Cox. She is one of the authors of The Recipe for Success here with Jack Canfield. She's on the back here. We are excited to have her in December, so definitely mark your calendars for that. If you want to learn more about the Senior Care Services of Greater Princeton, you can check out their website at seniorcareservicesgp.org. And if you want to watch or listen to more episodes of Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things, you can check out our Facebook page with the same name and the podcast also with the same name, wherever you listen to podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and more. And I want to thank all of you for watching and listening. We greatly appreciate you being here. We hope that today provided some entertainment, some inspiration to help you enjoy your extraordinary life. So thank you so much.